After millennia of terrestrial foreplay, mankind's noteworthy achievement began with its political unification and the gradual colonization of Mars. While the technology to colonize this world had existed for some time, the necessary steps were not taken due to political bickering, shifting agenda, and to sheer interior of comfortable industrial civilization. Only when the risks clearly began to present themselves and Earth's environment began to buckle under the strain of 12 billion industrialized souls did mankind finally take up the momentous task. Over the decades, traveling to and later settling on Mars had been envisioned as quick, relatively easy affair, complicated but feasible and manageable in short term. As push finally came to shove, it became clear that this was not the case. The process had to go step by step. Almost pathetic bombardment with genetically tailored microbes, slowly generated and breathable atmosphere in a cycle that took centuries. Later, a few cometary fragments were knocked off course to bring forth seas, oceans, water. When the wait was finally over, remains of Earth, flora, and fauna were introduced as specially modified Martian remake. When everything was ready, people came from their crowded world. They came in one-way ship, fusion rockets, and almost pathetic glitter, packed to the brim with colonists, sleeping in dream of a new beginning. The first step on Mars were taken not by astronauts, but by barefoot children on lush, biosynthetic grass. Martians. For several hundred years, Mars remained a backwater, promising but still dim compared with the splendor of Earth, which was glowing brighter than ever before. Thanks to the relocation of environmentally demanding industries to Mars, Earth could import and consume more of everything without having to damage its entire biosphere. It was the terrestrial heyday, the climax of economic, cultural, and social development on all Earth. This, however, was not to last. Like the gradual separation of Americas from its old world founder, the government of Mars adopted new Martian identity. They declared political independence and called themselves Marinians after Mars Valor Marini, the largest cannon of the solar system, which after terraforming had become a Mediterranean-like inner sea, uniting different cities and polites on that planet. The difference between Earth and Mars was not only political. A few generations in less gravity had given the new Martians a spindly little frame that would have looked surreal in their old home. This, combined with a certain amount of genetic engineering, took their separation to a new level. For a while, the silent schism between the two planets was mutually accepted, and the balance of power hung in an energy equilibrium. But the Terra-Martian standoff could not last forever. With limitless resources and an energetic population, Mars was about to take the late Civil War. Martian prominence in the solar system was expected to occur in one of two ways: either through long-term economic gain or by a much shorter but painful armed conflict. For a few centuries, the former method seemed to be working, but eventually caused a collapse in the most destructive way. Almost since its establishment, Martian culture was suffused with an explicit theme of rebellions against Earth. Songs, motion pictures, and daily publications repeat these notions again and again until they became internalized. Earth was the old ossified home that held humanity back, while Mars was new, dynamic, active, and immediately. Mars was the future. This ideology eventually reached its semi-paranoid, revolutionary apex roughly 1,000 years from now. The nation of Mars banned all non-essential trade with and travel to Earth. For Earth, it was a death sentence. Without the resources and industries of Mars, the terrestrial heyday would quickly be over. Since the trade in essential goods continued, nobody would stop. But for every citizen of Earth, the Martian boycott meant the loss of up to 3/4 of their annual incomes. Earth had no choice but to reclaim its former privilege by force of necessity. Centuries after her political unification, Terra geared up for wars. Most thinkers and fantasists of previous time had imagined interplanetary war as glorious. Fast-packed speculated of massive spaceship, one-man fighter, and last-minute heroic Nothing could have been further from the truth. War between planets was a slow, nerve-wracking series of personally timed decisions that spelled destruction on a biblical scale. Most of the time, the combatants never saw each other. Most of the time, the combatants weren't there at all. War became a duel between complicated, autonomous machines programmed to maximize damage to the other side. While trying to last a little longer, such a conflict caused horrendous destruction. On both sides, Phobos, one of Mars' moon, was shattered and rained down as meteorite hail. Earth received a polar impact that killed off one-third of its population, barely escaping mutual extinction. The people of Earth and Mars made peace and reforged a united solar system. It had cost them 8 more billion souls. Star people. The survival of the war between Mars and Earth agreed that massive change were necessary to ensure that such a war never occurred again. These reforms were so comprehensive that they involved not only political and economic change, but biological change too. One of the greatest differences between the people of the two planets was that over time they had almost become different species. It was believed that the solar system could never completely unify until this discrepancy was overcome. The answer was to create a new human subspecies, better adapted not only to Earth and to Mars, but also to the condition of most newly terraformed environment. Their creator enveloped these beings with larger brain and high talent, greater than the son of their predecessor, be they Terran or Martian. Normally, it would be hard to convince any population to make a choice between mandatory sterilization and parenting a newfangled race of superior being. However, memories of the war were still painfully fresh, and for the Emergency Survival Committee ruling Earth and Mars, such radical measures were easier to enforce and implement, and resistance to the birth of the new species did not extend beyond mute complaint and tribal strife. In only a few generations, the new race began to prove its worth. Organized as a single state and aided by the technological development of the wars, its people rapidly terraformed and colonized Venus, the asteroid and the moon of Jupiter and Saturn. Soon, however, even the solar system began to feel contrast. There was scarcely a world moon of planetable devoid of human inhabitation. Even extreme inhabitants, such as Mercury or the dim planetoid of the Oort cloud, were home to research stations and temporarily based the new people who in turn these sites wanted to go further to new worlds under distant stars. Colonization and the mechanical Odyssey. Even for the star people, interplanetary travel was a monumental task. Early minds had blocked over the problem, and fantasies such as traveling faster than light and while hyperspace emerged as the only solution. Simply put, it was impossible to take a large number of people with enough supply to even the closest star to make colonization feasible. The existing technology could only slug along at mere percentage of light speed, making the journey an epoch-spanning affair. Enormous generation ships were convinced and even built, but these succumbed to technical difficulty or onboard anarchy. After a few generations, the solution was first to go there and make the colonies later. To this end, fast and small automated ships were sent forth to the star. On board were semi-sentient machines programmed to replicate on site and terraform the destination, then construct its inhabitants from the genetic material sought on board. A bizarre problem plagued such attempt. The first generation of humans to be manufactured sometimes develop a strange affection for the machine that made them. They reject their own kind and pursue after the massive identity crisis that followed. This technological Oedipus complex was not uncommon. Nearly half of all colony filing attempts were lost through it. Even then, the remaining half were enough to claim the galaxy for the star people. The Summer of Man. Right after mankind colonization of the galaxy came its first true golden age. Reared by machine prophet, the survival of the Oedipal plague built civilization that equal and even suppressed their forebear on Earth. Ancient solar system. This diffusion across the haven did not mean a loss of unity across the sky. Steady flow of electromagnetic communication linked mankind world with such eventually that there was no colony that did not know about the going on of her distant sibling. The threefold of information meant, among other things, a vastly accelerated pace of technological growth. What could not be figured out in one world was solved by another, and any new development was quickly made known to all in a realm that spanned centuries of light. Not surprisingly, living standard rose to previously unimaginable level. While this did not exactly mean a galactic utopia, it's safe to say that people of the colonized galaxy live life in which labors, both mental and mental, was purely optional. Thanks to the richness of the heaven and the tools of machine, each individual had access to more material and greater cultural wealth than some entire nation in humanity deemed past. While all this development was going on, a curious phenomenon was observed. While aliens' life was abundant in the stars, no one had encountered any sign of true intelligence. Some attribute this to its overall scarcity, while others went as far as proposing that a divine influence has given perfectional treatment to humanity were restoring certain religious fallacies from Earth's distant past. Putting theories aside, one question still went unanswered. What would actually happen if mankind ever ran into its equal or superior in space? An early warning. During those times, a small discovery of immense significance warned humanity that it might not be alone. On a newly colonized world, engineers had stumbled across the fossilized remains of a puzzling creature, consists so because it was waxing evidence that animals from Earth had somehow inhabited this alien planet. Justified name Pandarus Pandora. The colossal fossil was that of a bird-like creature with enormous claws. Later research determined it to be highly developed Testosterone from a lineage of herbivorous dinosaurs that died out millions of years ago on Earth. While every other large land animal on that colony world had 3 limbs, a copper-based skeletal system, and hydrostatically operate muscle, Pandarus was a typical terrestrial vertebrate with calcium-rich bone and 4 extremities. Finding it on that plane was as unlikely as finding an alien creature in Earth's own star. For some, it was irrefutable proof of divine creation. The religious resurgence fueled at first by mankind appearing loneliness in the heaven become even more intensified. Others saw it differently. Pandarus had shown humans that entity powerful enough to visit Earth, take animals from there, and adapt them to an alien world where at large in the galaxy, considering the time gulf of the fossil itself. The mysterious being would have been millennia older than humanity when they were capable of such feat. The warning was clear. There was no telling what would happen if mankind suddenly ran into this civilization. Benevolent contact was absolutely preferred and even expected, but it paid to be prepared. Silently, humanity once again began to build and stockpile weapons. There were terrible devices capable of collapsing stars and breaking entire solar system. Sadly, in time, even these preparations would prove to be ineffectual. The coup. The first contact was about to happen. The galaxy was simply too large to contain, just a signal intelligent civilization, and delay in contact meant only a heightening of the eventual culture shock. In humanity's case, this culture shock meant the complete extinction of mankind, as it had come to be known. Almost a billion years old, the alien species known as the Ku were galactic nomads, traveling from one spiral arms to another in epoch-spanning migration. During their travels, they consistently improve and change themselves until they become masters of genetics and nanotechnological manipulation. With this ability to control the material world, they assume a religious self-imposed mission to remake the universe. Powerful as God, the Ku saw themselves as the divine harbinger of the future. This dogma was rooted in what had been a benevolent attempt to protect the species from its own power. However, blind, unquestioning obedience had made monster of the coup to them humanity. With all of this relative glory was nothing more than a transmutable subject. Within less than 1,000 years, every human world colonized by human was destroyed, depopulated, or even worse, changed. Despite frequent rearmament, the colony could achieve nothing against the invaders, save for a few flashes of ephemeral resistance. Humanity, once the ruler of the star, was now extinct. Human, however, were not.